welcome and thank you for joining me. This is Laurie of Laurie's Heirloom Sewing, and as you can see, we had some fun with buttons today. I had my youngest daughter excuse me, over this morning for a visit, and I let her choose the 3. I'm going to go ahead and do 3 buttons. It looks like a crazy person, but then we were both ripping and tearing because they're just so much fun. So basically what I thought she would choose is what she actually did choose. And I'm going to I think what I'm going to do is just use this little Tupperware-y thing. I'm not sure if it's Tupperware. I bought it at a thrift store years and years ago. And in the process of getting the new furniture in the house yesterday, oops, you need to go in there. I found this. Oh, goodness. Along with a few other things. So I'm trying to utilize the things that I want to keep, and that's why I'm doing this. Probably not the best use, but at the moment that's what's going to happen. And the reason that I'm kind of in a hurry is because I, with my visit with my daughter, I kind of cut into my my sewing time, and I didn't want to not sew today. So I think what I'm going to do is just get a little creative and use some heavy things like this to weigh that down. I mean, we do what we have to do, right? That's kind of what I'm doing. All right, I'm cutting out 2 of the lining material. I ordered some heat and bond from Amazon this morning. What am I trying to say? The heat and bond fusible fleece. I ordered 2 packages. I paid for it. I went ahead and just, did that through Amazon, and it will arrive according to the final information I had when I made my payment. It will arrive on Thursday, and I should be good to go for all 3 of these projects. And I know this looks super awkward the way I'm cutting this out, and it really truly is super awkward, but I'm going to kind of work on it after I get it cut. Oh my goodness. One of these days, everything in this house is going to be where it's supposed to be, and things won't be so awkward. Oh my gosh. Maybe I can pin this one since it's only through 1 layer of parchment paper. I don't know. Ah, there we go. And I think it'll be easier to trim. I'm going to use my rotary cutter, ouch, to go around the outer edge and pretty it up a little bit. And as I said yesterday, I don't think I've uploaded that video yet, but when you're cutting out a heart, it's one of those shapes that kind of like a circle, where you're going to have a lot of area that is cut on the bias or at an angle. And that can, stretch the fabric and cause some issues. that you might not have expected. And some say, or I've heard some say, that is not that's not necessarily true if you are working with a vinyl, but I don't think that's 100% correct, because I can kind of see where you might get that idea, but I don't think I would take a chance, especially if I had paid a lot of money for some pretty vinyl. I wouldn't want to chance it, you know, by checking maybe on a scrap. You could see if it would, you know, mess up if you stretched it. But that's not something I'm going to spend my time doing. Okay, so I'm just kind of going around cleaning up the edges. And if you're not comfortable using a rotary cutter without a guide, and by guide I mean like a ruler, you could just use your scissors, but please, you know, just keep in mind that the more you pick this up and handle it, the more likely it is to stretch and become distorted from the original shape that you had envisioned. But you do have to be careful cutting without a, you know, something to stop you from cutting into your fabric, or I mean your pattern. Okay. And I could fold this in half and do it that way, but I'm a little bit more comfortable doing it the way that I initially cut it out, which is one reason why you want a pattern. Okay. All right. So there is that. I'm going to move all of this excess fabric. I have that and that. And I will need to now cut out 2 pieces of fusible fleece, which I just happen to have. You do only need 2. And I'm kind of able to see where that shadow is right there, but I'm not thrilled with that. Let's just see. Again, I'm going to try to get as much out of this. And keep in mind also that you do not want to have the exact same size of fusible fleece as you have of your fabric. And the reason for that is you're going to want that seam allowance. Oh, my phone has just been going crazy this morning. Okay. All right, and I'm just going to use a regular gel pen to draw this out, and then I'll just cut on the inside of the line, if I can get the pen to work. There we go. I'm just going to do it over here. It makes way more sense. I was trying to conserve. Okay, there. Since I'll be cutting on the inside of this line, I'm okay with that. That. And this does not have to be exact, by the way. Just keep in mind you are going to have a seam allowance, and you want this to be on the inside of that seam allowance. So as you can see, I'll have to trim that. I made it a little bit too fat across up there. That's okay, I can trim that down. And this is just to give your little bag some shape. So that's a perfect size right there. And we'll just do it again because we need 2. So we can fold this one in half and make sure it's actually folded in half, okay? And it's kind of holding itself onto my fusible here, so I can just kind of hold and cut at the same time. If you need to be more precise, then I would pin it or sketch around, whatever makes you the most comfortable in this particular part of the process. Okay, so now we have 2 shapes that we will adhere using our iron. I have already preheated my aliso, so I will get that pressed on there. I've got a few things I need to move out of the way. It's just been a crazy couple of days, and I don't really... Okay. Alright, now with your seersucker, there is a right side and a wrong side. The right side will have a little bit more pigment. Sometimes it's hard to tell. This is the right side and this is the wrong side. I don't know if that's showing up, but there is, when you look at it, there's just a little bit of a variation. It also, if you've never worked with seersucker before, it is kind of a puckery fabric. When you press it, just kind of put the iron on it. If you slide your iron over the top of it, it will actually change the size. So it's best to just kind of press and not slide the iron. And then again, if you don't want to use seersucker, you could just use a striped fabric. I just happen to love almost everything about seersucker fabric. I used it a lot when I was doing heirloom sewing. I used to sell it in my shop. It's such a beautiful lightweight fabric, and because of the stripes, it lends itself so well to smocking and other heirloom sewing techniques. And it is very lightweight. I'm just going to give it a quick steam, get some of those wrinkles out without changing the size. I may have to do a tutorial on heirloom sewing with seersucker. Okay. Alright, this one got a little... I need to see how that has a point I want that squared off. So I'm just going to chop off that little point. Like I said before, you don't have to be exact with your fusible fleece for this project, unless that's just you and you need to. There's nothing wrong with that either. For me, the battle of this project today is time, not perfection. And of course I want to get the videos uploaded. But I mentioned yesterday, and it's still true, I'm only going to show the construction of one. I'm not going to show the construction of all three. Okay. So here's the lining piece. Well, both of the pieces of lining put together. I need to press my cotton print fabric. So I'm going to do that real quick. Okay. I can still feel pin. Okay, there we go. Got that. All right. And another thing I thought of this morning, while I was drinking my 5th cup of coffee, and you think I'm kidding, I'm not, is it would be so cute if you had scrap fabric. Like, for example, if you really didn't have a heart print like this, if you had some pink, just pink scraps, you could seriously piece those together, you know, just strip piece. Like, even if you had like a pink jelly roll, you could strip piece those together and then cut out a heart shape. Or for that matter, you know, any shape, but for Valentine purposes, it would be really cute, I think, to go ahead and just do, make your own fabric, so to speak, and piece it together and then cut out a heart, and make a cute little bag. Okay, so we have, this is our outside fabric and this is our lining fabric. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to try something. I'm going to put this, put this right sides together. And if I open that up, because I want the opening to be about here, about an inch below where the little I don't know what you call that, the little point on the heart is. So if I have that there, and I do that, and then I would have these two pieces put together, and I would stitch this way. Okay.